Are you ready for love? Hi, I'm Marcus Holmes, the facilitator of the Love and Stuff community, and we're ready for you to join us on the next episode of The Dating Game. Forget all of the social distancing. Let's get up close and personal online. And who knows, you might make a heart connection that will lead you to a private Zoom room date. Inbox me now at Marcus R. Holmes or at Love and Stuff for your opportunity to connect closer while we are so far apart. Stay safe and be well. And good evening. We are live here on Facebook, YouTube events, Twitch TV. I'm Marcus Holmes. I am your facilitator, and I am so glad that you are here with me. I hope that you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion, just as I am doing now. I would love for you to help us spread the word about all things love and stuff. We appreciate your support and look forward to you chiming in along with us and tracking with us as we invite others to join us right here on Love and Stuff. So I hope that you will do that. I'm clicking share just to tag a few places to join us, and I hope you will do the same now that we are live. All right. All right, Michael Flanoyo has joined us. Thank you so much, sir. Okay. All right. All right, and click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. Thank you so much. I'm just clicking share on our Love and Stuff page. Thank you for those of that you are watching on YouTube. Just drop in the comments where you are and that you have clicked share. Just type the word share, that you click share with someone. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm right. Cool. Okay, this is working out good. Thank you so much. Those that are sharing. I'm trying to share on this phone. All right, just a couple more seconds. All right, excellent. Okay, so we'll get right into our topic this evening. Okay, just tracking with you across platforms, trying to make sure that we're live on all these platforms. Thank you so much for being with us and being patient with us as we make sure we got all of our live studio information in. Okay. Okay. All right, the chat is open on my multi-chat function. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm gonna go right into our topic. Well, first I wanna thank you again for your support, helping us to get to our 1,000 views on our shows. That's our goal, 1,000 views, 60 shares. Of course, we're ready to up that. We're one shy of 3,700 followers on the page, so you should go to Love and Stuff page and click follow and join us on our road to 20,000. We will only get there if you share the content and sharing the content that you love. So we invite you to go to our page. While you're on our page, you can certainly shop and purchase Love and Stuff gear. Good evening, Tasha Green. Thank you for joining us. I hope you will click share. You can get gear there and support the Love and Stuff movement. Pretty soon, in a few weeks, our Gratefulness Journey Every Day first book will be out, and you'll be able to get that on Amazon. But we have a special event coming up on October 30th. On October 30th, we are presenting our first online event, which is She's Cooking Something. We've got 4 dynamic women that are within our Love and Stuff community who will be sharing with you some ingredients for love and some ingredients for your life. You don't want to miss it. And you will soon see advertisement about it. And you can find out how to join us on that wonderful event. You do not want to miss what these phenomenal women are going to share. All right. So I appreciate that. And we're going to go right into the topic, Our topic comes from the inbox, and we pulled it from the inbox. Almost feels like an inbox archive to some degree. But I want to bring this topic because in the Midwest, in a few states in the Midwest, there is this celebration coming up Saturday that's called Sweetest Day, right? It's coming up. And some argue it's for the guys, it's for the women, it's the male version of Valentine's Day. In either regard, it started as some sweets. It started around orphans, right? Gets its origin from that. But I thought I'd pull up this topic from the archive of topics because I think it's around the Sweetest Day discussion to some degree. And so if you're here, click me some likes or mean faces, depending on your response. Whether or not you've been on a first date and that first date did not materialize into a second date. Dropping in the comments, absolutely didn't or absolutely did, and what was the reason if it didn't? Because from our inbox, we have someone who has no problem getting dates. Her date card stays pretty full. Her problem is getting from date number 1 to 2 or 2 to 3. And here is what she says. I haven't had a second or third date in a minute. Here's how it goes. I meet a guy at a club, party, or event. He buys me a drink and asks for my number. When he calls, and he normally does, he asks me out for a date. Coffee, lunch, or dinner have been the options since Corona, she said. So those have been the only options, but there have been other options prior to Corona. She says, we have a good time, and when the bill comes, either it's awkward silence or he asks something like, now how do you want to do this? Yes, I am self-sufficient, educated, business owner, but I don't flaunt that. After that, I offer to pay for the meal, and 1 out of 4 guys lets me. The others either split it or pay for the meal reluctantly, she says. Why these dudes, 30s and up, think I'm about to pay for a whole grown man's half dinner or Dutch, she says. I never call them again or return their calls. One of my male friends says that I am too old-fashioned. Help me out, Love and Stuff. So I want to hear from you. Do you think in that situation, is it appropriate, if you invite someone, if you are invited to dinners, ladies or men, if you invite someone to dinner, who is responsible for the tab? Should it be an automatic Dutch? What should it be? I want to hear from you. Is it an automatic Dutch? What should it be? Thank you so much. All right, I think I got that volume up. What should it be? What should it be? If you are invited out to dinner, ladies or gentlemen, you invite a lady out to dinner, who should pay? What should it be? I want to hear from you. Who should pay? Give me some likes or loves if you've ever been in that situation where the bill comes and the person who's invited you says, how are we going to do this? clicking share, tagging some folks to join us in the discussion. I appreciate it. I got some likes there. Some folks who I can't see on my Love and Stuff page. So thank you so much, those of you that are here. Just drop your name in the comments so that I can track with you and know that you are here. I see that there are 5 folks directly on the Love and Stuff page, and I love that because we're trying to get our Love and Stuff page on the road to 20,000 followers. We're one shy of 3,700. We've got a little ways to go, but we've come a little ways. So I hope that you will hang in there with us and that you will click share and tag someone to join us in the discussion. So I'm interested to know how many of you have been in a situation where you were on a date and the individual who invited you to the date asked at the time of the bill, so how are we going to do this? Kind of alluding to, are we going to split it? Who's going to pay? Have you ever been in that situation? And if you were in that situation, what would you do? If you were the lady, is it chivalrous for the man to pay? Is that old fashioned? Should the expectation be that a man is going to pay on the first date? Tasha Green, thank you, sis. First date, I feel if the man asks you out, he should pay. Or if I have no problem with him being upfront before the date where we agree to do Dutch. Okay, so before, there should be some conversation, as you see it, Tasha, beforehand, if there's going to be a Dutch. Okay, thank you for that. And so what happens if you get to the table, Tasha, and there's been no conversation on the first date, and this gentleman on the first date is basically saying, now how are we gonna do this? Does he get a second date? How do you handle that? Drop your name in the comments just to track with us so that we know that you're here. I can't really see who is joining on either of the Facebook pages. I can see a few on the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining us. And I know oftentimes we're in different time zones. Some of you that are on the YouTube are overseas. Right. I want to make sure I get my senior associate producer the information he needs. If you want to join me in this discussion live, I'd love to have you. And our senior associate producer is going to drop that link for you in one moment so that you can join us live. All right. Tasha says, no, there would not be a second date. Anybody agree with Tasha? No second date. I'll pay my half and it'll be that. Okay, thank you for that. So Tasha says, hey, if we haven't had a prior discussion about doing Dutch, if he is looking for me to pay on the first date, there will be no second date. I will pay my half, but that will be that. Give me some likes or loves if you agree with Tasha that there would not be a second date. And I'd love to hear from some of the brothers when you are taking a woman out for the first date. Do you have a discussion about Dutch? Do you take a woman out thinking that she's going to pay part of the meal? Is that ever a consideration? Is that ever appropriate, fellas? Is that ever appropriate? Right? And as you're coming in, welcome to Love and Stuff. We're on the road to 20,000 followers. We can't get there without you. So make sure you drop by the Love and Stuff page tonight. If you haven't already clicked follow to follow us on this journey of upping our love game together. We love you to be a part of our Love and Stuff community. And so thank you for joining. I hope you will click share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion. What would you do if you are invited on a date and when the bill comes, you're asked by the person who's invited you, now how are we going to do this? Is there going to be a second date? From our inbox, there is no second date or third date, she says. Sometimes she gets to a second date, but most times she doesn't get to a second date because the person does not offer to pay. And 1 out of 4 of the time she says she normally offers to pay and the guy accepts her payment for dinner, and the other ones agree to split it. So what do you say? All right. And those of you that are joining us on the Love and Stuff and the Marcus R. Holmes platform, welcome to Love and Stuff. I hope you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. We're talking from the inbox. And I will just repeat our topic one more time. I know it will be pinned shortly so that you will be able to see it. All right. Thank you. Our senior associate producer is here. Thank you so much. And our topic, I haven't had a second or third date in a minute, she says. Here's how it goes. I met a guy, or I meet a guy, I think she meant to say, at a club, party, or event. He buys me a drink and asks for my number. When he calls, and normally he does, he asks me out for a date. Coffee, lunch, or dinner have been the options since Corona. We have a good time, and when the bill comes, either it's awkward silence or he asks something like, now how you want to do this? Yes, I am self-sufficient, educated, business owner, but I don't flaunt that. After that, I offer to pay for the meal, and 1 out of 4 guys lets me, she says. The others either split it or pay the meal reluctantly. Why these dudes 30s and up think I'm about to pay for a whole grown man's half dinner or Dutch? I never call them again or return their calls, she says. One of my male friends says that I am too old-fashioned. Help me out, Love and Stuff, she says. Thanks for pinning that topic. I think you're pinning the topic there, okay. And I'm just going back to check to see, what do you say? Don't get me wrong, I have offered to pay the bill and have paid the bill on dates, but it's usually the third date or if I've asked them out. I was going to ask you that, Tasha. Are there times when you ask the gentleman out? Tawana Mann has joined us. Thanks for joining Love and Stuff. I hope you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. Are there times, Tasha, when you invite the man out and he is expecting you to pay because you invited him out? Is that how it goes? You know, kind of chivalry was the man, you know, asks you out, he pays for the dinner when you go out. I'm wondering, is the expectation if you say, hey, let's go to the movies as a second or third date? Is he expecting you to pay? Gentlemen, are you expecting the ladies to pay? What are you expecting? And if you'd like to join me live, the link to join me live is in the comments. So feel free to click on that link and join me here live in the discussion. What do you do if you are invited out, especially for the first date? You're invited out and the person who invited you is alluding to splitting the bill. Is that appropriate? And for those of you that are mainly in the Midwest who are approaching Sweetest Day, because it has been said it's Sweetest Day is for men, mostly the women are to cater to the men. Is your husband, boyfriend, significant other expecting you to take him out and pay? Should that ever be an expectation? What do you say? And those that are coming in, thanks, come right on in and click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join us in the discussion. Those of you on the Marcus R. Holmes page, those of you on the Love and Stuff page, click share and invite some people to join us in this discussion about do or Dutch. You're welcome to come and join us live. All right, let me go back to just track with you. If you'll just drop your name in the comment and where you're from, and maybe whether or not yes or no, you believe that the person who is inviting the other person out, male or female, is responsible for the meal. Yes, they're responsible. No, drop that in the comments so that we will know that you're tracking with us on all platforms. You that are on YouTube, and even if you're on Twitch TV, join in the discussion. right? Just seeing who's tracking with us. All right. No, they don't accept it. All right, thanks for that. Yep, I see the link. Thank you so much. All right, so I'd like to hear from you. What do you say? If you're invited to dinner, ladies, or you're invited to dinner, gentlemen, and it's the first date, let's start there. So this is the first date. It's after the initial meeting, whether you met at the light, at the gas station, in the grocery store, at work, in the elevator, at a party, an event, at a club, wherever you meet, when whomever invites whomever, hey, let's go to dinner, let's go to lunch, let's grab some coffee. I want to get to know you better. Whatever that line is, that's hook, line, and sinker. Who is expected to pay? Is it the person that invites the person out? Is it the man? And ladies, if the man invites you out, are you expecting for him to pay? I'd love to have you join me here live and hear your opinions. All right, Autumn Nicole Holmes has joined us. As we're talking live about this topic, I'd love to hear from her, from the millennial. The link is in the comments. So I'd love to hear, we talked a little bit about this topic. Forgive me for touching my face. But I'd love to share that, Autumn, if you're available. So click on the link that's in the comments and join me live. What would you do if you're out on a date? And you've been invited to the date and you get to the bill and it now is, how are we gonna handle this? So there is a link. Let's see if I can highlight the link. I know Jay Gerald did that. Let's see, let me know if you're seeing the link. Did it pop up? I think it's pinned now. Jay Gerald has pinned it. Let's pin that link. What's wrong with being old-fashioned? I agree with the young lady who brought up the topic. What's wrong with some of these 30 and up men on having women pay? I think that's a great point. Okay, I see where I shared the link. I hope you can click on it. Uh-oh, you're not seeing the link in the feed. You're not seeing, okay. Let's see, how do we, okay. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. All right, hold on 1 second. Oh, hang tight. I'm gonna get you that link. Tasha, I think you raised a great point. You raised an absolutely great point. Absolutely great point. All right, and I think Jay Gerald, I'm trying to show it in the comments on all platforms and it's not showing in the comments on all platforms. That's where it is. So we're not seeing it on all platforms. Okay, that's where we at. That's what's going on. All right, I think we got to fix to that, Autumn. Here's the link. I think you should see it now. I'm trying to post it in the, all right. All right, our senior associate producer is coming in. Jay Gerald Harvey, the fourth. Thank you for joining us. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How do I sound?
Sound good.
Good.
Okay. All right. So So this topic, on the first date, J. Gerald, when you take a woman out on the first date, are you automatically planning to pay?
If I ask her out, yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Automatic.
Okay. All right. I see Autumn Nicole has joined us. Hello there.
Oh, you can't see me. Hi.
Yes, I can see you. And we talked a little bit earlier about this very topic because I wanted to hear from from the millennial generation because you might have a slightly different take on this. But you kind of said that you that's not really an issue for you.
No, it's not an issue for me. And that's because I was raised by two dominant Aries men that you taught me to always be prepared, always be aware of my surroundings whenever I'm going out. So I never expect for a man to pay. I always bring my own money. Even when I'm ordering off the menu, I order something that I can pay for. So it's never an issue for me. I think my generation, maybe it might be an issue for it. I think like the typical idea is that when you go out on a date, a man, whoever invited that person on a date, which is generally the man, should be paying for that date. However, for me, I don't necessarily expect that. Like, oh, I could pay for my own food. That's no problem at all. But that's just me in the way because of the way that I was raised.
And even if it's the first date, are you kind of expecting that if he's invited you out for the first date, that he's going to be prepared to pay?
I mean, I feel like anytime you invite somebody somewhere, unless it's like a platonic friendship, that you should pay. I mean, like if you invited that person on a date. So, I mean, yeah, for me, I would expect that on the first date, oh, that person's going to pay. But at the same time, I guess I don't expect it because I always bring my own money. Like, I don't depend on someone else because you never know what could happen.
And so if you get to that point in the dinner, you've had a great time and he's like, so how are we going to do this? Does he get a second date?
I mean, if I pay for myself, maybe, possibly, depending on how the date went, like how the conversation went. I think that kind of determines whether a second date happens. Also, like, you never know somebody's financial situation at that time. So I think that's something else to consider. Although if you don't have no money for real, you probably shouldn't be asking people on a date. But like, you never know. Something could have came up that day before or that morning. So yeah.
And I guess you're just not phased because you're always prepared if you have to take care of yourself.
Right.
Okay. All right. But you think that maybe other people your age would probably, you were saying earlier that the girls or young ladies your age say, if you're not paying, then you're not taking me out. I couldn't.
Oh yeah, like my generation won't play them type of games. My generation, we don't do that. If you gonna invite me somewhere, you better pay for my meal. Like, and that's generally how we think. Like, what did you bring me here for? I could have went to dinner by myself if I just wanted to go to dinner. Like, if I wanted to pay. I think that's the general consensus of like my age group, the millennials, is that we as women are like, okay, so you invited me here, so I would think that you're gonna pay for whatever we're doing today. Which, I mean, I think that's somewhat right because you the one that asked me. I ain't asked to be here. So like, you know, that it kind of works that way a little bit, I guess.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for coming on, Autumn. I appreciate it.
Bye, Uncle.
Bye, Autumn.
Bye, Autumn.
Bye.
All right. That was Autumn. Uh-oh, we lost Kamal. Oh, no, he's coming in. All right. I see Jay Harvey. Now, is Jay Harvey from our Harvey legacy?
Yes, she is.
Well, let's see if she will click on the link and come in. She said, so I was taught to always have your own. I like that teaching. I believe in it, even though I was telling Autumn, I do want her to expect that the man is going to be able to come to the table the same way that she comes to the table, prepared. And that if he asked her out, that he would be prepared to do it. But she's kind of in her own mindset said, but Uncle, you've always told me to be self-sufficient, so I'll I don't have a problem paying for myself. It's just important that we have a conversation about it. It shouldn't be like you're trying to stiff me with the bill.
Right,
I'd love
right.
to hear from Jay, if she's willing to come on. Hello, Kamal. Thank you, our associate producer. I appreciate you for being here.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for inviting me as always.
And
How
so
you doing, Mr. Harvey?
What's going on with you?
Another
And
beautiful day.
your
Yes, sir.
first date with your wife, would you have expected her to do Dutch?
Oh, not at all.
And what would you say to your daughter or your sons about going out to date?
I've told my son, expect to pay. You invite that young lady out, that's on you. Don't expect her to pay. But I'll tell my daughter, make sure that you get an understanding ahead of time that if he's asking you out, he should be expected to pay. But make sure you have money yourself just in case he tries to run out and it says, "Oops, I forgot my wallet."
And so from our inbox, Kamal, what she is saying, she's in her 30s and she's saying she doesn't often get to a second or third date because when the bill time comes, there's this awkward silence, or he says something similar to, "Now, how are we going to do this?" And
Well, I remember reading that. There was not a conversation ahead of time. You have to discuss that. Where we going? What we gonna do when we get there? How do you expect to be dressed? Those are things in my mind you should cover in terms of what's going on with the first date. It's not like we going to Edgewater Park and riding the mouse ride anymore. We got to know what's going on.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of old fashioned because I just in my mind believe that if the person that's asking you out and there's some interest in that person, then you should be prepared to handle it, in my mind of thinking. But I think if it happens in her case more often than not, that you do start to have some conversation and say, okay, what's the plan for how we're doing? Because she can't get to this second or third date because she's like, when she offers to pay, at least 25% of the guy says, oh, sure. And then the rest of them either say, let's split it, or, they reluctantly pay like they weren't prepared to do it. Jay Harvey is joining us. I'm so excited to have her. What a beautiful picture. Can you hear me, Jay?
Okay, she's still connecting.
Okay. So I think it's very interesting that you go into a first date. You're right. Maybe you do have discussions, but you go into the first date. I guess I'm just old fashioned. I think if I'm going to take a woman out, I'm not going to expect for her to be pulling out her wallet. As a matter of fact, if she invites me out and it's a first date, I'm still gonna pay. I'm gonna feel some kind of way if I don't. But
the only time I think you would give a young man a pass is if he's in college and it's really a bit hard on him, and then you can say, hey, I'm trying here. I'm not where I want to be, but I still would like to go out. Can we go and share a milkshake at or something like that? But other than that, unless he's at a very infantile stage. But then there's also the school of thought of you don't have it, you shouldn't be dating anyway.
Yeah, that's what all of us.
I think that's the only time is when he's like maybe a 19-year-old kid, both way at school, and you still want to get a slice of pizza. That to me, that would be the only time that I would kind of acquiesce a little bit.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, I was 19 once and in college, and there was a place called Acres Down Under at Michigan State, and we might cut the pizza pocket in half, or we learned to have a picnic with with maybe some cans of tuna, because I think I'm pretty charming and engaging, so it really wasn't the food, right? But you find a way to have that moment of dating on a budget. Oh, yeah. Okay, so Jay Harvey, I'm trying to see your beautiful face. Your picture is absolutely stunning. There you go, and your picture doesn't do you justice. Boy, I see your mom smiling you.
Sorry, hi.
Very beautiful.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and so thank you for coming on Love and Stuff with these old guys, your dad and Kamal. They're the old guys.
I definitely got on just to listen, but okay.
Well, I wanted to get the younger perspective. How do you feel? Because in your comment, you say you were taught to always have your own. So are you similar to Autumn that, hey, you would be willing to pay for yours, or are you expecting that guy, you and Autumn are beautiful girls. So are you expecting the guy not to say, so how are we going to do this? Or do you expect him to really take care of the bill?
So I feel like there are pieces to this conversation. Okay. So to answer your question quickly, like, yes, I'm willing to pay for myself. Do I feel like the question should come up when the waiter asks how we're splitting the bills? No, because let's talk about it when you ask me out. What are you expecting from this? How is this going to go? Are you willing to pay? Like, I just set the standard when you ask. Okay. That's my thing.
Okay.
And then I feel like this conversation, like people having an issue, guys having an issue with paying comes from guys feeling like girls just want to use them. But then it's like, who are you asking out? Like, you have to look at yourself about who you're asking to go to dinner with you or whatever. Like, not every girl out here is trying to use you. We do just want to get to know you, but I feel like that's where the issue comes in, with guys thinking that girls just want to use them.
Got it. And so for you, I know your dad's on, so just blink rapidly if you don't want to answer any questions that I ask.
I'll answer the questions.
Okay. So when that first date, when a guy asks you out and you say yes, hey, yes, I'll go out on the date, is at that point that you're having some conversation about the who's taking care of the meal? Or do you at that point do you rate that guy, Jay, oh, this is a good guy if he's planning on paying? Or does that matter?
You get a couple points for paying, but okay. I'm used to that. So you don't get 1,000 points for paying. It's not going to secure for sure a second date or anything.
Got it. And would you not go on a second date if you got to the bill and he's like, so how you want to do this? Would that be
It would depend on like how the date went. And I feel like that should be set before the date.
But if you got to that point though, and you wonder,
if we're waiting till the waiter,
the waiter brings the bill, because you're right. Nowadays they say, they say, are you splitting the checks? Which I hate that.
Yes.
But let's say they bring the bill to the table and sit it down, and he's like, how do you want to do this? Are you in your mind thinking, what the what? What are you thinking at that point?
So it's a little thought like that, just a little bit.
Yeah.
And
then does that weigh in whether or not you're going to see him again, or just the overall tone of the date? You might still give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, just the overall tone of the date, for sure. It is the first date, and both sides you're still trying to feel the vibes of each other. So that makes sense.
Yeah. And you mentioned something earlier. I want to go back to it because a little bit different for my age. I'm going to say that, there might be a little bit of age difference with me and your dad. I'm teasing that, but
yes,
there used right. There used to be a time we thought it was the cost of having the company of a beautiful woman to pay. So it wasn't a woman using us, because we got out of the deal what we wanted was that company. Now, I'm not going to delve too far off, because there are people who have other expectations when they take a woman out on a date.
Okay.
But in general, it was thought that it was our pleasure to be able to pay because the woman's company was the prize, right? We were courting her. But you were saying something about a guy feeling like he's being used. It's almost as if the guy doesn't understand that in this day and time that is the price of a woman's company. It's the pleasure of having her company around. So it sounds like guys today think that it's a pleasure to have them around. Do you get that impression?
Yes, I feel so. There are a lot of conversations on social media where guys will be like, if I take you, there's all these, like, a date should be this amount of money, or if I spend this amount of money on a girl, she should, all this other stuff. And I don't understand it. Like, no, if you ask a girl out, you should be willing, even if like just at least be willing. I'm willing to pay for myself. You should be willing to pay for me if you ask me out. And guys do feel like a lot of times that girls use them for meals, or I'm not sure. And there are some girls who do that. There are some guys who do the same thing. But you spending $20 on me on a meal is not, it shouldn't hurt your pocket like that.
Yeah. And so do you feel at all any kind of pressure to do anything more if a guy spends money on you, like they say on social media? You can blink rapidly if you don't want to answer that.
No.
Okay.
I don't. I wasn't. No.
Yeah. And if you invite a guy out, let's say you say, hey, why don't we go hang out? I don't know if you would do that for a first date. So, you know, if you're going hanging out, I know it's Corona, but let's say you're going hanging out at some event and you meet a guy and you're talking, and then you say to the guy, hey, you know, let's go hang out. He might consider that having invited him. Or maybe you wouldn't. Would you do that? Would you do that?
Would I pay?
Would you invite him out, like on a date? Maybe just say, hey, you know, I like to let's do coffee sometime. Would you say something like that?
I haven't before. I haven't before.
Okay. If you, so we're hypothesizing now, right? If you had done that, would you be expecting to pay? Would you think you would be paying? If you said to him, hey, let's have some coffee, would you think that it would be on you?
I would be prepared to pay if I invited him out. Yeah.
Okay. And you would expect to pay? Because I think, you know, the way your dad has reared you, you're going to be prepared. You're going to be prepared to pay, but would it be the expectation in your mind, I'm going to pay?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless the event comes and he says otherwise, yes.
Okay. What you saying, Kamal?
I'm sorry, Miss J. I know that you feel like you're under the watchful eye of Dad. It's okay. Answer the questions.
No,
because I got a baby girl and I know the look. He's trying. It's hard for us.
So, and I'll just share this with all the Love and Stuff community. Our relationship with me and my girls is so open that we've already discussed all this.
I know, but it's still the look on your face. I know the look.
Never.
Oh.
Out of all of my daughters, this one right here could care less about how I or what I got to say about anything that she feels.
No, so I have I'll say this, like I've gone out with a guy friend and not in a dating way, but like, hey, let's hang out. And to me, like I don't really go out with strangers, so I can't give like from previous experience with that. But I've invited a guy friend out and we did bowling and did lunch, and he paid for bowling and I paid for lunch. So I'm pretty open to whatever. It's not rigid if I ask you out. But I feel like if you no matter who the party is, if you ask that person out, you should be willing to pay. It shouldn't be a big thing, or it shouldn't be I'm going to pay if she does whatever, or if he does whatever. Like, no.
And if you were in a situation where it got to the place where he said, hey, let's go Dutch, and you decided not to date, the next time that you were in the situation, would you make sure that you had a conversation beforehand? Yeah. Because that's what's happening in our inbox. She's not getting to a second or third date because she says, you know, once somebody, you know, doesn't prepare to pay, then she's like, that's her sign. That's kind of her deal breaker to say, I don't want to date him again, you know, because he took me on a date. He didn't say beforehand that he wasn't going to pay. So this is a sign to me, no matter how much fun we had on the date, that he's not going to be a person that I want to see again. Hearing that, what do you think about that? I give you a chance to think on it. I want to just double back to the comments. Andre Shepard has joined us, Ashley Williams, Michael Parker, Bilal Muhammad, Deborah Hill. Thank you all for joining. I hope you have clicked share to invite 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends, and I hope that you're following us on the Love and Stuff page. Tasha says, yes, I agree. Okay, so.
So if that's her deal breaker, I mean, that's fine for her, I guess, but I'm not sure. Like I said before, you have to think about who you're going out with.
Yeah.
And what's the tone before you go out? Have y'all had conversations? Do y'all know a little bit about each other? You know, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And I think, you know, you're young and beautiful. And so when people get in their 30s, some people, this won't be you, Jay, but some people in their 30s, the older you get, unfortunately, the more you tolerate because you're thinking, I want to date. I want to have this opportunity. So you kind of look past some things that you might not have looked past when you were younger because you were like, there are plenty of fish in the sea, or however it might go. In your 30s, you start to say, now the sea looks like it's fewer fish swimming. So then you might start to say, well, maybe he didn't have the money, but so those deal breakers might, you know, kind of narrow some for folks in their 30s. But I love that a conversation is required because we're always talking about communication. And a lot of times people just don't communicate about the things that matter to them. And if it matters to you about who pays or who doesn't, in this case, she says 25% of the time the guy lets her pay. Which I've advised Autumn, but I think Autumn is like you. Your dad says, hey, this is one doesn't really listen. Autumn doesn't really listen to me either. So, but I tell her, if a guy is not going to pay, sure, you can pay for the meal and give a good tip. But if he's not going to pay, you got to start to think, something has to stand up and say, well, wait a minute now. He brought me out, or she would say, you know, he's going to take me for a steak, but you know, uncle's taking me for steaks all of my life or taking me to the Whitney. So it's not like, woo, like you said, he's not getting extra points. But if he's not going to treat it as if he values the pleasure of your company, you got to kind of say, and think about it. And so, you know, oftentimes we don't have that thought, or we don't have that conversation.
Yes.
What would you say to other women, millennials your age, about this situation? What should they look for if they're dating a guy? Because of course you said you know, you're not going out on a date till you get to know somebody, right? There are people who do online dating or social media dating or Snapchat dating after a few interactions, right? So what would you say to people who might date a little more quickly than you? With somebody that they may not know, what signs might you suggest that they should look for?
Oh, I get this. What signs should they look for? I mean, you've had at least one conversation with the person before you go out. So, if you are going out with a stranger, I guess be open for whatever happens. Just look, take clues from what is said and what is done. So if you offer to pay, he's just like, okay, whatever. Like, no, definitely, like you said, think about that. I'm not sure what else. Just take hints from what's going on, what's said during the conversations. When you talk about family or whatever else you talk about on first dates, just take hints and take mental notes.
Okay, that's great advice. And you are delightful. Thank you so much. I want to just jump back to the comments. Deborah Hill has joined us. Chris and Nicole Hill have joined us. Tawana Graham. Jones Love says, always make sure you have your own money and your purse. I think every dad probably could chime in and say, that's what we teach our girls about being self-sufficient. But you also want them to meet a guy who makes them feel like he will take the lead and stand forward. And again, I'm old school in this, that he will court, that there's some value to the presence of a good woman, and there's a price to it. And there is. That price could be your time, your money, your chivalry, whatever, but there's some price to it. And you demonstrate that to her so that the value, hopefully, that she already has, that you match that value by acknowledging it. And so you want to see that, you know, we want to see that for our girls, but we realize we've taught you to be Sheroes, and super women. And so sometimes you're like, as Autumn would say, boy, bye, I got my own money. We get that, but we do want you to be in a situation where you don't have to use your own money, though you have your own money. You have your own bag or coins or whatever you all say these days. But we want the guy to still understand that it is a prize to have the company of a woman. And I think that's what's missing. Deborah's saying so true.
Yes.
Do you feel that that's missing, what's missing in your generation?
Yes, I think it's so easy to get that thing that everybody wants that they don't feel the need to work for it. But you find a good woman, you should want to work for it. Yes.
Yes, I love that. I love that. What a well-reared and delightful young lady. Thank you, Jay, for joining us.
Thank you. Good night.
We might have more questions for you. And I know, Jay George, you can't be anything but proud, and I love it. Carmen Evans is saying, I don't do Dutch. And so, Carmen, I want you to come in. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to come back. Carmen Evans says, I don't do Dutch. So click on that link, Carmen. Deborah Hill says, so true. Click on that link. Join us. I'm interested in the I don't do Dutch. So what does that mean? Carmen, if you get to the table and he says, so how you want to do this? What do you do then? Do you get up and walk out? There's an episode on Good Times where JJ lost his job and he's going to take out Cheryl Lee Ralph. She's playing the character. And she says, so I need to go touch up my lipstick. And she leaves him, she ghosts him and tells the waiter, oh, he's handling the bill. So is that what you would do, Carmen? I want to know. Pamela Sanders has joined us. Thank you so much. Leroy Hurd has joined us. Hello, Carmen Evans. How are you?
Oh.
Carmen, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to read and figure this thing out.
So how are you, Carmen Evans?
Fine.
So let me ask you this with your beautiful self. I think I told you this already. I'll be putting Carmen and stuff. She's in the Love and, she's fully immersed in the Love and Stuff community. But one of the books that we're working on is a book on colorism, and one of the cartoon little girls is Carmen, pretty much the caricature. So with your beautiful self, a guy invites you out on a first date. You meet him at the supermarket, like I told you to go to the supermarket and meet him.
Okay.
And give him your number and you answer the second time he calls you.
Okay.
And you go on this first date. You
well, the first time,
y'all laughing, y'all having a great time. And he says, when the bill comes, he says, so how you want to do this? What do you do?
Oh, no, we're going to have something established before we get there.
Okay.
If I have to pull out my wallet, there will never be a second date.
Got it.
No.
So if he doesn't, so you're going to have a conversation. What is the conversation like that you're going to have ahead of time? So he invites you, says, hey, I want to go to Andiamo's on the riverfront and take you to dinner. And so then what's the conversation like?
Oh, the conversation would be like, oh, okay, so are you taking me out on a date?
And he says, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so just so I can be clear, you're paying, correct?
Okay. All right. And if he said, well, I thought we do Dutch.
Oh, well, okay, we can do Dutch, but I'll be going by myself. And it won't be to that restaurant.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now I need you to hypothesize.
Okay.
Y'all didn't have that conversation.
Okay.
He swooped in and swooned you. So he invited you and you were like, I'm there. You at the table. He is charming. He is handsome. He is almost like me, just handsome, charming, all that. Y'all at the table having a good time. And the bill comes and he's like, so how you want to do this?
I'll ask the waitress or waiter, can you separate the bill? Bring me my bill. I'll pay, and the conversation is over. I'm paying for my stuff and I'm getting up and leaving.
Okay.
So that also tells you that I'm driving my own car there, especially for the first date.
Yes. I was going to ask that, but I knew the answer to that already. Our Love and Stuff viewers didn't know that. You would not let him pick you up for the first date, second date,
No,
third date,
possibly.
possibly the third date after he's paid for the first two. Okay. If you had said to him, hey, you meet him and you're like, hey, let's do coffee. Would you ever invite him out for a first date? Would you invite him out for a first date?
I have invited someone out for a first date.
And did you intend to pay for that first date?
Yes.
Okay. So as long as whomever is inviting whomever should be ready to pay.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I invited him out because, I wanted to get to know him a little better. Thank God that he was a man and he wouldn't allow me to pay. But I just wanted to get to know him. I wasn't, with the intention on, maybe this will go somewhere, I just wanted to get to know him, be friends with him and stuff like that.
Has your view on this changed as you've gotten older?
Yes.
When you were younger, would that have been okay? Dutch been okay?
I can't remember if at any time I've ever paid on a date. Oh no, well that would be a lie. Maybe a couple of years ago. I paid. This young man was, trying to court me or whatever he was doing. And he always paid.
And when you said whatever he was doing.
Yeah, whatever he was doing.
Okay, film at 11. Okay.
Yeah. And when he went up, he got up and went to the lavatory. I asked the waitress to bring me the bill. And I paid the bill before he got back. So when he got back, he asked the waitress for the bill. And I told him, I said, it's already covered. And, he thanked me, but he, told me, I'm the man, I got the bill. So, and his thing was in his mind was, I owe you something extra since you paid for this. And it's like, I wanted to do this.
Yeah. I'm kind of old schoolish a little bit.
That would be me.
I might have felt slightly disrespected, but
I think he did.
I probably would have gotten over it, but I probably would have been like, what you're trying to prove. But that's the old school mindset. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah, he was offended.
Okay. Let me ask you this question. So the man is paying. Jay, I don't know if you saw Jay Gerald's beautiful daughter, Jay, but she was on and she was saying, guys nowadays try to make it seem like, it's more the man is the prize, kind of, sort of. And, a lot of money is being spent, men might be used in some regard. Do you feel pressure if a man pays for the date and it's some nice date that he wants something more than just that date? Have you ever
Absolutely
felt pressure?
not. No. At the end of the day, I think that as women, and I had to grow to where I'm at now because I have not always felt this way, that I was valuable. And I didn't always, how can I say this? I didn't always,
you didn't always feel valuable?
Or know your worth?
I didn't always know. Yeah, I didn't always know my worth in a sense where I took whatever was given to me.
Do you think, I'm glad that you're at this place because this is a great place to meet Mr. Right? Knowing your worth. But do you think that some women get, the older that they get, the more that they're willing to settle, that they negotiate this value and worth proposition that you're talking about?
I think it's actually the opposite. I think as we get older, we understand our worth and our value.
Okay.
And the things that we put up with in our 20s, you know, our teens and our 20s, we just don't have the time for when we're in our 40s.
Got you.
So in our mindset, or in my mindset, either you're coming correctly, or I just don't have the time or energy to put into it.
Yeah, I want to ask you about some of those things you put up with right after I go to the comments. Dawn Renee Ori says, I don't pay for dates while courting. That's not my ministry. It's so funny to me, Dawn, that most of us are saying courting. I don't know if that's just, I thought I was going to sound old fashioned. I feel totally fine now because most people don't say courting anymore. So I feel totally fine that I've been saying courting, but I agree with you. That's my thinking on dating, but you know, I could be considered old fashioned. I don't know. So Carmen, the things that you don't put up with anymore, what are some of the things you put up with? And I want to ask that to Kamal and Jay Gerald as well. Can you dial back to 20 years ago or 30 and say, what are some of the things you put up with then that you wouldn't put up with now? So Carmen.
I can dial back to in my 30s where
or 20s.
Or 20s, you're courting a guy, or a guy is courting you, and he's verbally saying one thing, but his actions is showing something different. I put up with, you know, we're dating, we're just, you know, it's just us, knowing that, you know, I've caught him in compromising positions, you know, and just, you know, accepting it. You know, I love you, you know, that's just a friend, and, you know, and all that stuff or whatever. And because, you know, like I say, at that time, probably not really understanding, you know, my value and my worth, I put up with it for longer than what I should have.
And can you reflect on any times for first dates that you put up with something that you wouldn't put up with now? While you're thinking on that, Jay says courting should still be the term used when people properly date. Go on, Jay.
Yes. That's the term, courting.
So were there first date nightmares or first date things that happened before that you can share that you wouldn't tolerate now?
Well, some people get mad at me when I say this, and this may be trivia to others, but it's a big thing for me. I don't put up with, you know, smoking and drinking, you know, period, but definitely not on a first date.
And there was a time that you did?
Yeah, when I was in my teens and my early 20s. You know, my children's father smoked and drank, and I highly disapproved, and I hated it then and I hate it now. Yeah.
So if someone smokes, you probably aren't going on a date.
No.
Even in this time, and we probably, Jay Gerald, should have a
not
show.
Marijuana, not cigarettes, not cigars, nothing.
I was going to say, Jay Gerald, we probably should have a show about the normalcy around marijuana usage, because there are people, it's normal to them now. And so they're in dates and in well, I don't know if you can do it in a hookah bar. I'll have to ask Richard Dickey Mason, he owns one. You know, it's normal now. So should you still be?
And I'm not saying that, I'm not being judgmental. If that's something that you do for medical reasons, that's something that you do for whatever. I just don't.
Recreationally.
Yeah. It's just not something that I want to be around.
Okay. All right. How about you, Kamal? What about first dates? Can you go back to before you were married, first dates or stuff that you tolerated then that you wouldn't tolerate now?
Bad attitudes. That's easy. I always thought it was cute. She pop off a little bit. Thought she was feisty, because that stuff continues down the road. It gets embarrassing when you go places and girls start acting like that. Educated and non-educated, you would think that it would be a difference. But what girls oftentimes think is just them being strong is them being insufferable and ignorant, and it just drove me nuts. So if hopefully I won't have to deal with that stuff if I had to do it all again, but that would probably be one of the top things on the list. I'm not dealing with no attitude. If you want to have attitude, you can talk to Lucy and pay her 5 cents and wait for Charlie Brown.
Okay. So when you say pop off, give us an example.
Going places and if the service isn't right, being nasty to the server. It's just saying, or just saying anything off the wall because it's in your mind, and don't have a filter and being uncouth.
Okay. All right. And Jay Gerald, what about you?
So for me, I guess for me it would be, there's some things that about me that I would accept back when I was 20 that I won't accept out of myself even now.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes into just the dating and the courting process.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I say that is because in my 20s, I was dating. And I was dating without purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And what I actually have, what I teach is that, and this is why Jay said what she said, courting is dating someone, and dating is you can date multiple people, but your courting is courting someone with the purpose of going somewhere further. And I think that's why we as older men, we will still say that we're courting. Um, but in my 20s, I was just dating.
Mm-hmm.
I was just going out. Let's go out. Let's go out. But now my time is so valuable that I have to be courting with a purpose and going out for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some chemistry and there's some other stuff that has to take place before I even ask you on a date.
Mm-hmm. And so
And it's
on
more. Go ahead.
going back to that question though, on that first date back then when you were
Mhm.
dating, that
Mhm.
first date, were there things that happened on that first date or first date nightmares that you would
Well,
not
yes,
allow now?
yes, and
So,
so
yeah.
here we go. It would be similar to like what Kamal says. I said before on Love and Stuff. Anybody that treats the wait staff rudely or just doesn't think about their feelings and everything else, or has only themselves and selfish ways that they will talk to other people or
Mhm.
to the wait staff. It's one thing for your food not to be right. It's another thing just to feel like you're privileged and that that you actually are the cook.
Mhm.
So that's one. And the other one that I had, I
Wait,
remember
wait, can you explain that you're actually the cook? What does that mean?
what that means is that you're at a restaurant. And if you're at a restaurant, your food does not have to be perfect. And there are some people that are entitled and would feel like their food
Oh,
has to be absolutely perfect.
oh, well, I may be one of those young ladies.
I
Okay.
figured
You
that's why I
may
was chuckling.
what that and that's fine.
And I'm
But
just saying, because if you're
but
paying for a certain service and a level of service, oh, I don't expect anything less. I mean, I'm not going to cuss the wait staff out or anything like that, but
well
if it's not right, it
well
will go back.
that's where it differentiates. If you if it depends on how you choose to react to whatever takes place. And that's the issue. The
Yeah.
issue is not that it's not right and that you're not satisfied, but the issue is how do you react to that? And I would love
But you have some
what's
men,
this?
and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. You have some men, like my son is one. When we go out to eat, his food cannot be right. And he's just like, well, I'll just eat it. Just what? No, that's not what you ordered. We're gonna send it back. No, that's okay, Mama. I'll just eat it. You're
So
not.
you're pretty particular about your food um, in a restaurant setting. I
Mhm.
think a fair statement to say. And I think what Jay Gerald is saying, but when you take it to the next level, which I think you could, but when you take it to the next level and
No, I wouldn't.
and it becomes an issue where you are condescending or rude.
Oh no, that's just
Something
no,
of
that's
that
not
nature.
cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
right. So I don't
So
think
the-
you're saying that you can't complain, but you might not say, well, the Alfredo sauce is just a little too thick. You might not do that, but you might do that. So I don't know.
So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
so here's my my nightmare was I met a girl at I met a girl one night at a bar.
Mhm.
And the next night we were out with this superstar at the Whitney. And I invited her to come with us to the Whitney.
Mhm.
So we went to the Whitney. She was fine, all that, right? I'm 20, 21. And she comes to the Whitney. We're sitting at the table, and she says the first thing out her mouth when we sat down was, "What's all these forks?" And not to just me,
Ooh,
she shouted that
been there,
across the
been there,
table,
been there. Oh my
and
God.
I just was like just sliding up underneath the table. Fortunately, because this person we already had a relationship before with the superstar, whoever he was. Um, Fortunately, he just laughed it off and he was like, "Bro, I feel you." So
But is
that
that
was
her?
the
Is that
nightmare.
her fault or your fault? You should have known her temperament before you invited her to go to the Whitley.
Watch this. That's why I was at 20, and
Oh,
that's why today and ever since that time, I fully vet you before I take you
mm.
to anywhere.
Yeah, double that at my point.
Yeah. And,
Yeah.
Carolyn
Definitely.
Allen Henderson has joined us. Renee Furtado has joined us. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, but welcome to Love and Stuff. Just to make sure. I think in my 20s, dating for me, the price of the date was something more, what I thought more intimate when I was in my 20s. Today, dating to me is getting to know somebody better.
Okay.
And I think I've said in previous Love and Stuffs, I judge a date, the first date, if there is no chemistry, there will not be a second one. So
Mhm.
I'm looking for chemistry immediately. And so, but I think I'm pretty much an empath. I'm very, uh, I would regard myself as more than regularly insightful into connections. So if that connection is not happening right away, I'm not going to invest any more time. So it was worth that $35, $40 or whatever it was to see if there is a connection, because that's what's important to me today.
What is that? What does the chemistry on the first date look like to you, Marcus?
The chemistry is that we're connecting. First, we're connecting intellectually.
Okay.
You cannot get more of my time if you don't stimulate my mind. That's number one. So if I'm not intrigued to have more conversation about who you are or what you know or what you think you know or what your positions in life are, then if you don't stimulate that, that's a no. The fact that we're sitting at the table together, there had to be some physical connection, right? I had to see something beautiful aesthetically, or I would not be at the table, right? And then
The
there has to
first for
be
me.
some semblance of a spiritual aspect of you that I'm able to recognize, and an even temper or emotional gait. You have to be able to appear that you're not crazy. And I think I'm pretty intuitive for that. So those connections have to happen when we sit down. Or, hey, G, it was great meeting you. I don't think this is a connection, but I've had a great time. Let's keep in touch. I'm kind of forthright. I've even been told that's kind of cold, but I don't want to lead anybody on to thinking that there's going to be a second date, because there's not going to be if we don't connect on those levels. If I sense that you're not physically attracted to me, we don't have anything else to talk about.
But what about first dates sometimes can be awkward? So maybe it may take the second date for you to really break that, that barrier to that individual.
I can only speak from my experience. When I've been in a situation and it's been awkward, it has been the representative that I was meeting. It wasn't the authentic person. Because what I try to work to do in a date is make people feel comfortable enough to be, if they're ghetto, to be ghetto. If they are a criminal, to be a criminal. I try to make it as comfortable so that people reveal themselves to me pretty quickly, because I need to know that. I need to know right out the bat if you're crazy and you're going to slash my tires. And I think there are signals that you're going to show me right away. And if I see those signals, hey, it was great meeting you. I enjoyed our time together, but I don't think this is a connection. Let's keep in touch. And it won't be a second date for me. I know in previous loves and stuff, they were, in the comments, ew, that's horrible. It's the truth of who I am today. Now, in my 20s, I would have let something like that linger on if I thought there was the opportunity for intimacy. Because in my 20s, I was intimacy. You see what I'm saying? So I would have thought, well, let me see how I could work intimacy into this and how long the chase can go on. I'm not going to chase you if you haven't stimulated me intellectually, spiritually, shown me that you're stable emotionally, and there's something physically that attracts me. I'm just not going to chase.
Yeah,
Marcus, first for me.
Say it again.
I'm sorry. This is the first for me. You're the first time I've ever heard of a male describe themselves in the terms of the sapiosexual. You're the first I've ever heard any male that's ever gone down that road in terms of how he feels about women in terms of that way. I've heard it plenty of times for women say that they have to be stimulated mentally before anything else can happen. Really quick story. In my 20s, before I met my wife, it was this young lady who I thought was really high on, educated, in a sorority. Took her to eat, and just like Mr. Harvey, what all these forks for? So I explained the outer to the different courses, and then we were at an Italian restaurant, and the spaghetti had the spoon in it, and so she started trying to eat the spaghetti with the spoon. Whew! I was quite a bit perturbed. I thought it was something that she would have learned by that age, but I guess I assumed that was going on. I had to show her how to do that, and then before that, we'd even gone to a movie. It was subtitles, and she didn't want to stay because she didn't want to read. Whew! Let's just say we were not going out very much longer after that.
Yeah, see, that's kind of where we differ. If I'm going on a date and we're eating Italian food, I'm going to bring up that spoon just to make sure you do know. Right, and if you haven't stimulated me intellectually, we're not going to go to see a movie, because I'm going to want to know, did you read the book? Or I'm going to want to know what's the context for when watching the movie, because I need to be able to talk to you, and your mind needs to spark something with me. As a matter of fact, the mind is the aphrodisiac.
I know that now. In my 20s, I was pretty much where you are.
Now, I hadn't always.
Next.
In my 20s, that wasn't the focus. But in my 40s, 50 now that you mastered a little bit more about what your constitution is about, you know what your levers are. And so you know whether or not somebody can move your lever to the left or right. And so you don't spend a lot of extra time, is my thinking, with somebody who cannot move your levers.
But there's a level of intellect that a person can have, but still be unknowledgeable of certain things.
Oh, absolutely.
You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Some things this is for her and for him. Some things you can teach each other. You know.
I don't mean that they have to be necessarily, and not that I am brilliant. They need that they need to be as learned or something. I mean, are you curious to learn? Are you a person that in conversation say, I like to learn new things, or are you a person that I like to read, or your person, hey, I was watching the news and this was of interest to me. It doesn't necessarily have to be deep, but it has to be thought provoking where I'm like, oh, you think. Oh.
So,
and then my mind is like, oh, you think, okay, now you're looking even better now. You think, right?
And it's okay that you don't know.
Yeah.
It's how you present that you don't know, because it wasn't that she didn't know why there were so many forks. It was how she presented it.
Yeah.
And she shouted it that she didn't know that there was this many forks.
Yeah.
Because we could discuss it very silently. You know, we can talk, we can whisper, and it's good that there's things that I don't know, there's things that you don't know, that we can learn from each other from.
Absolutely.
And it's all in how we present that to each other. Let me say one more thing about the awkwardness for me.
Yeah.
For me, with the awkwardness is a sign that this ain't going to work. A lot of times, if I'm on a date and we've been here for about 2 hours and it's still awkward.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, J. Gerald. If it goes on long and awkward, it's been, and you know this, being in and around music, people have an impression of who they think you are versus knowing who you are. And that can be awkward because then they don't know how to approach you because they were attracted to or enamored with who they thought you were.
That's right.
Now they don't know how to approach that. So I've been in those situations where, you thought one thing from your observation of me. Now we're seated together at the table and it's awkward for you because I'm always trying to make that person, I want you to be comfortable, right?
Because I'm the preacher.
Yeah.
And and I'm open to whether, so I'll just leave it at that. And I'm open to what God has for me.
Okay.
Well, see, for me, I think it would be a little different because a lot of people think, oh, Carmen, and people tell me this all the time, Carmen, you're so friendly. Oh my God, you speak to everybody. You love everybody. You know. However, when I really like someone or I'm on a date with someone, I'm quiet. And I'm usually quiet around people that I don't know. But once I get to know you, I open up. So it may be awkward for him because he's like, oh, I thought you talked, all the time. And I'm not. I'm the total opposite.
Yeah. But, and I think, I don't know, the gentleman can chime in. If a guy is really attuned and tuned into you, his job is to get you to open up so that you're comfortable being who you are.
Yes.
That's what I would think might happen. And
Carmen, I can admit I don't know you, but you got that "don't try me" face.
So well, Carmen, this is don't try you for that person. Don't get it wrong.
Yeah.
You got to don't try you about her.
Like, I'm gonna be nice, but thou shalt not try me.
Yeah, she got to try Jesus, not me, about her. But
yeah. Now listen.
But Carmen has this enormous. I'm very sweet. She got
I don't doubt that. I just know I need to be nice to you.
She's got an enormous heart, but she protects it, as a lot of women might. And that's why I'm saying now in my 50s, it's to get to know that. In my 20s, it was to get through that to what I wanted.
Right.
But I'm not, and I'm just putting that out there. I'm not as hard as I used to be. I'm not that wall to crack or whatever it is. It's not what it used to be.
Well, great
I'm
answer.
learning to adjust.
Loving stuff. Great answer. Great answer. We don't want you to cut your stock down here. We want to keep your stock high. Yes.
Yeah.
Kathleen Brunner has joined us. Thank you so much for coming to Love and Stuff. Darren Williams, thank you, sir, for coming to Love and Stuff. He's saying, yes, Lord, the first and best stimulation is in the mind.
Please stimulate my mind.
Yes. You know, and I mean, each person has their own aphrodisiac, but for me, it's the mind, but it needs to connect on those levels. And I work pretty diligently, pretty quickly to get those connections, or then I just abandon the effort. I'm not I wouldn't be 6 dates in still trying to see where you are emotionally. Just not my thing.
So
But,
I don't know if you guys have discussed this before I came on, but let me ask a quick question. When it comes to going out on a date, the initial date, the second date, at what point did men start thinking that it was okay for a woman to play this 50-50 role?
For me, none. At no point.
I think what happened, I think this is, you know, my theory. I think because I think you're going to find in our generation, Carmen, not as many men are going to think like that. The ones that do understand that you don't know your value or worth. And the younger men have flipped it that they are the most valuable because they are they're a scarce commodity. It's fewer men, more women. So younger men could say, oh, I'm going to have as many women as a one, and they're going to do these things for me. I know you've seen the videos where they're going on the date and she's buying them shoes or she's buying them a new outfit to go on the date. And so they've been kind of conditioned to believe that the man is the prize, or that it's a privilege to be out with him, that the status is with him. Whereas we were reared, well, chivalry is that the woman is the prize, she is the value, it is your pleasure and price to be with her.
Yes.
And so I think you see that shifting, and then you add on this layer of the she roles and women are self-sufficient, and that can be times 20 where a woman is like, I don't need you. So then some men's response to that is, well, then pay your own way.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
You got another layer of men that believe that the price of the engagement should have something to do with the amount of intimacy that the woman is giving up. And that I don't think will ever die. I think as long as you have the oldest profession in the world, you're going to have a segment of men who think that my money buys me an opportunity. And so if there's no opportunity, okay, let's do Dutch. And that's some of the thinking that's evolved over time, I think.
I think it's really bad here in the South. A lot of the younger ladies that I work with, I hear them complaining all the time about the young men and that they're coming across are expecting them to not only go Dutch, but for them to pay for them as well. And it's almost like that's what they expect nowadays. And a lot of the women are acquiescing and doing it. I tell them all the time, I say, hey, I'm old enough to let you know, you shouldn't be paying for none of that. He should be paying for you. Even if you ask him out on the first date, he should still say, no, baby, I got this. Because that's, at the end of the day, if that's what a man's going to be, he should be able to provide for you. And you finish how you start. If you start off with him not taking care of things, he's not going to take care of things ever.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, what you just said. You know, we've always been taught, or at least I've always been taught, that a man is a provider. And I've always been taught that a man should have been taught along the way to count up the cost of having a significant other, for having a wife or someone that you want to date. It's not cheap. You know, it's not something that you do just, out of, something to do, but it's something that you put thought into, it's something that you put value into. Now, if this is the woman that you really want to be with, I was taught that men should always be calculating up the costs. If I want to take this woman out, if I want to continue seeing this woman, okay, I know this woman is not going to continue seeing me and me not making a commitment, so for me to keep this woman in my life, if I really, like her or love her to, to the level that I want to be with her, okay, I know I have to put a ring on it. Okay, I know if I have to put a ring on it,
I need to set a date. Okay, along with that date means I need to have somewhere that she can come home to. You know, I don't think men think like that now. Everything is, what can you do for me? Like, what are you bringing to the table? Which is it's an excellent question, but it shouldn't get overshadowed by your responsibility as a man in that relationship.
Great points, both of you. And Darren Williams is saying women's current push for equality has worked in that cultural social shift as well.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. And, you know, the single parent home, in a lot of cases, mothers give this hyper sense of manhood to their sons and this coddling to their sons that make them have this hyper status about their value and them being the prize, right? Renee Wright has joined us as well. Thanks for coming to Love and Stuff. I hope all of you that are joining will click, share, tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends to join in the discussion. I'm talking with Carmen Evans, our senior associate producer, J. Gerard Harvey IV, our associate producer, Kamal Williams. From our inbox, and a part of the inbox I want to pivot to from this woman in her 30s who is not getting to second or third dates because she ends up paying. She mentions that she is educated, self-sufficient, and a business owner, but she doesn't flaunt it. I asked, because a lot of times when people say what they don't do, that's exactly what they're doing. So I asked, do you think you might position yourself like, I don't need you? And so men that date you think, oh, well, you're coming to the table with something different. Whether or not
that whole independent attitude.
Yeah, whether or not they should do that, I think if you come in and say, you know, I own my own company, I got 2 or 3 franchises, and you don't think that you're flaunting it, a man might be intimidated by that, or he might play on it.
As she don't need me.
Okay, big Shira, pay for the bill. So I asked her whether or not she would be willing to reflect on that, to dial back that maybe a little bit, so that she doesn't come across as, you know, what you gonna do for me? Because I can pay the bill. Because there might be some men that say, okay, well, since you got 4 franchises or something like that, I won't say, you know, her.
Right.
But she's successful. So there might be men who date her who think, you got it. So what do you think about that? Should that be a concern if one or the other person has a certain social or economic status or socioeconomic status, that the other person should kind of be like, well, you got it?
I mean, there's a way to. Oh, go ahead, Jer.
My concern is that she says that she doesn't have any second, third, or fourth dates. So that right there about her socioeconomic status could be one of the reasons why she's not getting, or they're not paying for the first date, and she's not successful at gaining the second, third, or fourth dates. There's got to be something in the approach. If it's always happening, there's something consistently wrong in each one of these cases with different people.
And to that point, I think Jay helped us earlier where she said, you know, you should be having this conversation, especially if this happened to you once.
Exactly.
But then the second time, you don't go into it. You do like Carmen, maybe a lighter version, a softer version of Carmen. You say, so are you going to pay for the date? Or maybe that is a discussion you have if you keep getting to the table where you're paying for the meal and you're meeting guys. I also asked her, now, where do you meet these guys? Because you're meeting guys who are saying, oh, sure, you pay for it. That's probably not the norm. There are some guys that probably be like, sure, go ahead. But most guys that are going to invite you out aren't going to do that. But, you know, you might have to see where you're meeting these guys.
I think sometimes as women, and this is just my opinion, I could be wrong. I don't think so. No, but I can be wrong. I think sometimes we get off that independent attitude or spirit without realizing how the man is perceiving that. And for most men,
at least for most men that I know, or have the opportunity to sit and talk with, most of them want to feel wanted or needed. And if everything that come out of your mouth is, I got this, I got that. Oh, I don't need you to open up my door. I don't need you to open up my car door. You know, I don't know. Then in his mind as a man, because men think, you know, like, oh, you know, hunters, you know, fixers and this, well, what do you need me for?
I've been there. I was a young lady I was really high on, and I thought that we would possibly get together. I went to open the door for her, and she scolded me, told me she can get her own door. I can do this, I can do that. I'm just trying to be a gentleman. I'm trying to be the man that you would need for you to be. Like, I can't get your door. And she had a fit. She purposely ran to the next 3 or 4 doors we went through and opened them. Oh, that was a serious red flag for me.
I literally had a man to teach me that. I was seeing a man at the time, and he came over, and I was doing some housework, you know, doing some laundry and stuff like that. And of course, I had to go to the basement to get some clothes, put some clothes in the washer, you know, put the clothes that was in the washer in the dryer, take the clothes out the dryer. So I'm, you know, doing all this, and he's standing there and he's just talking to me, you know, keeping me company. And I get the clothes out of the dryer and I go to lift the basket. And he said, babe, I got that. I said, oh no, I got it. He said, I understand. He said, but I got it. I'll carry it upstairs for you. I said, boy, I've been doing this forever. He said, but that's why I'm here. And it didn't dawn on me until later that evening, like, oh, okay. How hard could it have been just to allow him to carry the basket upstairs? But because I've always had to be that, you know, quote unquote, superwoman, I was trying to show him, hey, you know, I don't really need you. I got this around here. I could do the clothes. I can cook. I can clean. You see these 2 children running around this house. I got them too. And he was looking like, well, that's what I'm here. I'm trying to show you I'm here to assist you. And, you know, yeah, I learned that quite early. I learned that quite early. Then I also learned, on the other hand, some men don't know how to treat a woman on a date. I had a well-known comedian take me out and walked outside to go to the car. I walked to the passenger side, and I'm thinking he's walking behind me. He was for the moment. I turn around, he's at his door. He's just opening up the door, getting in, and I look at him, and I look at the door, and I look at him. He was like, oh, you want me to get that? I said, well, I'm not touching the door. So he came around and got the door. When we got to the restaurant, when we pulled up, he literally asked me, he said, do I have to open up the door for you again? I said, wow. He said, okay, so let's get an understanding. He said, so whenever you get in the car, whenever we go in the building, I have to get the door for you. And I thought to myself, while saying out loud, what type of women have you been dating that don't require you to at least get the door?
The kind that sees him as a scarce commodity and maybe don't have a value for themselves, maybe.
And let me add this as well. It doesn't even have to be on a date.
Yeah, period.
There doesn't have to be any type of connection. I was at a wedding last Saturday, and at the table there was 2 couples, me and another young lady. I didn't know if the young lady was single, married, or whatever, but she was there by herself. But just out of what I know that a man is supposed to do, if she needed something, she got it. Just because it was what I was supposed to do as a man. And that happens at work. If you're at work and there's teaching doesn't have to be in a teaching format.
Correct.
If I show you how you're supposed to be treated, then maybe just that moment with me, will get you to that next step where you will see how much you're worth.
Yes.
So I'm going back to thank you for that, both of you, all of you, great comments. Going back to the comments, Darren Williams is saying, actually, that can be the invitation to the next date. I got to get some more information on that. I'm sorry, I missed that comment there. And those of you that are just joining, those of you that are on YouTube, thank you so much. Those that are on YouTube overseas, I appreciate it. Thank you. Put some shouts in the comments. That way I can see you across comments. I'm looking at the platform. Okay, so back to the inbox. She's not getting a second and third date. She's paying for far too many meals in her estimation. What's the advice that you would give to her? If you have one piece of advice that you could give to her about what she could do if her end goal is not, one of her end goals is to get a second and third date, which she doesn't give the opportunity for when this Dutch consideration comes up. So what's the advice that you would give to her?
Mr. Harvey, I have an answer. I don't know if you want to go first.
I usually like to go last so I can hear everybody else and stay in the background. But anyway, so since you called me out, I'll go ahead.
No, that was it. Normally I speak first. So I asked you, do you want to go first? No, seriously, I wasn't trying to call you out.
No, go ahead.
Producers, someone's gonna speak.
I'll speak. Right. I'll speak.
Go ahead.
I always believe you finish how you start. As a young lady, make sure you set the expectations for that young man, how you want to be treated and how you expect to be treated. Whether you have to state it literally by words or with your actions, make sure that you are understanding of what is expected of that young man, and things will normally fall in your favor. And if he doesn't live up to that thing, then he may not be the man for you. He probably isn't. And you shouldn't really have, even if you're just going to get a Coney Island, he should be able to put that $1.99 on the table and take care of that.
Something.
Okay. All right. Who's
Carmen?
Oh, well, I think the advice that I would give her, first of all, is to act like a lady. Don't allow yourself to be perceived as this hard, woman that, I got this, I would tell her to take a breather, relax, chill, and just ask a few more questions before you go out on a date. The Bible tells us in all you're getting, get an understanding. So when I learned that was in the Bible, I ask a lot of questions now because I want to understand where we're going with this and, what's your end goal? So I would ask her to ask a lot of questions and to keep her wallet in her purse. Most of all, allow a man to be a man. Allow him to do what he's made up to do. That's all I have for you.
J. Gerald.
My advice for her would be to just sit back and analyze what transpired between the time that the guy said, yes, let's go on a date, and the time that the bill came. What did she do? Was there phone calls and conversation in between those times before they went on a date? And to start changing, as Carmen said, start changing to make those calls and ask those questions ahead of time before the date, so that she'll get an expectation as to what's going to transpire on the date. I believe she has all the keys in order to actually be successful at dating and at finding love, because These guys, she said in her comment, she said that she gets the date. That's the first step. I unfortunately, by being in sales and being in sales so long, there's in sales, the number one thing is that you got to get the customer in the store and you got to get them engaged to the point where they're going to pull their wallet out of their pocket.
Mhm.
If you can get to that, then you've reached your goal. So for her, she's reached the goal of actually getting the guy to go on a date. We just got to fix the part of who's going to pay for the date so that we can go to a second or a third or a fourth date. And then, she's saying that she's meeting these guys either at an event, a club, or anywhere else. So I don't even think that it's a part of where she's meeting these guys. I just believe that she just needs to have conversations in between that time to narrow down even the choices of who these guys are.
And maybe she can not offer all that information. I have this and I have that and I have, some of that stuff. Matter of fact, none of that stuff need to be discussed, in depth, in the beginning.
Right.
As a woman, first of all, for your safety. And for two, you have manipulative men out here that are seeking vulnerable women. And when, and I hate to say it, some men are looking for a safe haven. And if you're spouting out, I have this, I have that, I have that, you may be the prey, for that gentleman. And his mindset will shift even if it's happening to shift. He may be on a quest to find someone that could, take care of him. So as women, we have to be very careful of the information that we release to men that we don't really, know. It's okay to say, oh yeah, I work in, this industry or that industry. But when you're getting so detailed as to, I have these many businesses or, I have this and I have that, that's, to me, that's going too far. You've allowed that man into a space that you don't even know if he's going to be here next week. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, you found out that he's not.
Good point. David Carter has joined us. Ingrid Poole says, how is he with money before the date? Canessa, Miller has joined us. Darren Williams says, change the date from going out to going in. I think you're all providing great advice. I do think that she's... Go ahead.
I would say go to old school route of writing down what you want in that person or out of that person long before you meet that person. Like on Waiting to Exhale, I remember one of the characters wrote a list of this is what I want in a man, this is what I want out of the relationship, and look for those things. You may not find everything that you're looking for on the list, but you'll have a very good idea what you're looking for, what you'll get, what you want, seeing that you know what you want, and to have that in the first place, I should say.
Yeah, some things are negotiables, but some things like Marcus have, so adequately taught us along the years, your constitution should never change. Some things is just like, no. No. So when you start talking and asking questions, some things should raise flags.
I agree with that. And Maite Tirado Resh has joined us. Thank you so much for coming to 11 Step. I hope you will click share and tag some folks to join us in the discussion. One of the things that I asked her about, and Carmen, you mentioned one of the other things before I forget it. I always tell people, instead of telling people what you have, tell them who you are.
Yes.
So instead of saying I have this, say I am this, and give people the opportunity to find out who you are. But if you're always telling people what you have, you might not be comfortable yet with who you are. Yes. If you think that what you have makes who you are, then you got some work to do on yourself anyway, right? If only way that you can get to know people is by saying, I have this, I have that, I have accomplished this, I have accomplished that, you really aren't telling people who you are.
Mhm.
And so you got to make sure that you're able to measure yourself more by who you are than what you have or what you have attained or what you have accomplished. But I do think, J. Gerald, to your earlier point, kind of counter to that point, I do want her to think about where she's meeting these guys. Because I think that does play. I think you can meet great people anywhere. So I'm not saying don't meet somebody at the club. You can meet somebody at the club. Of course, there is that chance that you got to discount whether or not he or she is sober, and you got a discount of what they're doing in the club as to whether or not that's what they would do out of the club. You got to kind of be thinking that. And if you aren't sober, that's not maybe the best thing to do, to walk out of the club. Two people that aren't sober, when they become sober, might not have met each other at all. So you got to kind of be aware of that. But you do have to look at where you're meeting people. And if you're getting the same guy, but in a different height or size or complexion, you got to ask yourself, what's in me that's drawing this kind of guy? If it's the same kind of guy that abandons or is non-committal or who does not want to pay for the date, you might be attracting him with something that's in you. So you got to think about, what am I doing? And maybe it is just dressing down. Maybe you don't wear the red bottoms, or maybe it is whatever it is that you're doing. You might want to rethink both where you're meeting people and then who are you presenting to the people that you meet? Because 9 times out of 10 is something in that presentation that's saying, you're going to take care of it, or saying I can manipulate you. So you got to think about that part too, if your goal is but to get to the second or third date. But that all lands back to what we heard very early on. Are you dating for a purpose, or are you dating for company? And I'm not judging. You can do as much dating for company as you want.
Right.
If you want companionship and that's all that you want, then you got to know that there are some things that go with that and consequences that can go with that. But if you're dating with a purpose, then you're not trying to just get to the second or third date. And you got to think a little bit deeper about what you're presenting in the initial meeting. Because, you can talk a good game and that person can talk a good game. But if you have 2 different goals about what you're trying to do, somebody might just be trying to get a meal. Somebody might just be trying to have sex. Somebody might just be trying to connect with someone to have adult conversation. Somebody is looking for love. And you got to know that while you're presenting that you're looking for love, the person on the other end may not be looking for it. So you got to think a little bit more about how you're presenting and what your goals are. And so I asked her if she'd be willing to expand those goals. She said she'd think about it, but she really did want the second and third date. And that's a start. But I don't know if it's where you want to finish to be able to say, I don't know if the accomplishment is, I got a second date. It could be an accomplishment, but you might find a better accomplishment is I'm building a friendship or a relationship with somebody that's like-minded. That's a good goal. It doesn't mean that you're ready for marriage. It doesn't mean that you're ready for sex. Both of those could happen. I know we got saints and pastors in here, but sex might happen. But if you don't make it the goal, if you make the goal about, I want to have a like-minded adult maturing relationship, that might be a great goal.
That's a great goal.
How you present yourself, it shifts how you see other people. It shifts how you see red flags. You heard Kamal talk about red flags. So if you want to have an adult relationship, you might see somebody right away who is showing you that that's not what they're looking for. And you might have to adjust and pivot so that you're not at a dinner table wondering why I'm at the same place, I'm paying for the bill every time. So that's what I hope.
You have to be very careful to not stumble over those red flags. Because I guarantee you, if she think about the dates that she's went on and everything that's transpired up to that date, she can say, oh, I missed that, or I missed that. Or it can possibly be what you're saying on the date that is scaring the man off, that don't want a second date. Like she can be possibly looking for love or a long-term relationship and expressing that in the beginning, And the young man on the other end is like, oh, wait, I just wanted to go out for a meal.
Yeah. And just to clarify, Carmen, she is the one that doesn't have a second date because she will not return the calls because
Right.
she ends up paying for the meal. So it's not that he doesn't want a second date because he can get another free meal, right? He wants the second date, but
Well,
she
some
doesn't
guys,
return
no,
calls.
maybe want the second meal because of what you put out at the first, interaction.
Yeah, I'm just going based on what she shared with us. What she shared with us.
He might say it's not worth that second meal, even though you.
Got you. I'm just based on what she shared with us. She has the opportunity for second dates, but she turns them down. She doesn't return their calls because she had to pay at the first date.
So here's another point of contention for me as well, is that when she's on these dates, is she asking questions or is she making statements?
That's
who's
good.
who's doing the most talking? Is she talking and offering information, or is he asking questions and she's offering information, or is she asking questions about him?
Yeah, I think she's having a good time at the date from her estimation. I think for her, where it goes wrong is that she ends up paying. So I think those are questions that she should be asking before. But again, right now her goal is the second date, right? It's not anything broader than that. And I don't want her to feel judged by that.
So when the person brings the check to the table, do she initially just automatically go into her purse and pull out her wallet?
No, she says it's either awkward silence or he says something to the something like, so how are we gonna do this? So she's never
or
I got it.
Or reluctantly, they're paying the bill.
Right. After, there's been, how are we going to do this? And then she's like, oh, you're not going to pay. And then he reluctantly pays. Or they split it, or she says, I'll pay it. And he says, okay. Instead of saying, oh, no, I'll pay the tip or I'll split it. So that's where it goes wrong. And I guess, like a number of you have said, that's a question that you probably should be saying before the date. Okay, who's paying? Because that's when she says, okay, you can't have a second date. Or I asked her, would you be willing to relax that rule? Because that's a rule for her. If I have to pay, there is no second date. And so are you willing to relax that rule if you're not going to ask the question? She says, well, no, that's just something I think is wrong. I said, well, maybe you have to ask the question before the date. Or maybe you saw.
Is she afraid if she asks it won't be a first date?
Well, according to you, it wouldn't, right? You would not go on that date.
It definitely would not be a date.
Yeah.
But my question is, if she asks these questions,
is she afraid
that she's not good enough for him to take her out and pay?
I think she's just had a poor expectation that a man is going to pay but from what she has done, she's built up not just the history of it. I think she's built up an expectation that this might go awry. Right?
So was she open to asking that question?
She doesn't think that she should have to ask a man, is he going to pay?
Well,
evidently she does.
Or that is true. Or he's got to source better.
Ask the simple questions. Where are we going? Who's paying? And are you going to be dressed appropriately for the place that we're going?
Yeah, I don't know that. I guess that's a fair question. I just would never ask it because I'm going to know. I'm going to know in a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Not you're going to dress appropriately. That's just me.
Do you understand that the appropriate dress for that place? Girls can get away with wearing jeans almost anywhere now. Like you said on Diamos, and I show up in a pair of jeans.
Never had an experience. I've never had an experience where I actually went out on a date and someone was inappropriately dressed because I sense whether or not someone has etiquette, and then we're not going on the date.
Well,
that's just not been my experience. I guess it can happen, sure, but it's not an experience that what do you have on? I've just never had that experience.
I do that all the time. Because one, I
But you
want to
still fly.
compliment who I'm with. That's the main thing. I want to compliment the dress of whoever I'm with.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think
But
that's cute to say, hey, what are we
that's
wearing?
that's a conversation that I have all the time.
I've never had that conversation. I've never had that issue. But again,
I was
It
thinking
doesn't
about
make
women.
it
I
doesn't
think you'd be lucky
necessarily make
that
it an issue.
It's not the other person.
Yeah.
It's me. It's not I want the other person to be appropriately dressed. It's more so I want to be appropriately dressed.
Yeah.
And
I think that can go both ways for me.
I don't want your expectation to be that I'm not going to have you compliment. Most women, most ladies want to compliment their man and how they dress
but not on the first date.
on any date.
No,
Well,
no.
Well, on the well, whether it's the first, the second, or the third, depending on where you say you're taking me,
We're going to
will
the Apple.
determine what we have on.
Yeah, but I'm not going to say, well, what we're going to the opera. What are you wearing? No.
We're
But
going to
no,
the
if
Apple.
you're going to the opera, hopefully mentally she knows, oh, you can't come in there with no jeans on.
I understand that, but I guess to Kamal's point earlier is like, that's what you have to make sure that she understands. I've just never run across that. If wherever we're going, she's appropriately dressed. It wouldn't be a situation where, because we've had a conversation and I know whether or not you know what appropriate dress, so then we're not going to a place where I know that
What?
you're not dressed appropriately. I've never.
Okay, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. I'll play Marcus.
Okay.
So she asked you out.
Yes.
Do you want to know where you're going?
Oh, I'm gonna know where I'm going. Absolutely.
Okay. Do you want to do? What if she told you, listen, I'm going to be wearing this, and I like those blue pants that you wear with the blue boots.
We're not going.
Why?
Because now you're telling me what to wear. I teach people how to treat me. And if you understand that I'm a creative, that's a strong-willed individual, you're never going to tell me what you want me to wear on a first date. Now, if we're married,
okay,
you might say, babe, you know how I love, you know what's going to happen tonight if you wear them royal blue pants.
Now that's true. That's true.
But on the first date, if you're already telling me you're trying to condition me to be who you want me to be or look the way you want me to look, the nature of who I am says, I'm good. I'm real good. You stay at home, I'll stay at home. Matter of fact, I got off not feeling so good. Because I think you teach people how to treat you.
So I think that with this young lady, I think it's okay for her to feel that, why should I have to ask, are you paying?
That's my
as a woman, our presumption should be, I'm going out with a gentleman. I'm going out with a man. He's paying.
Now stop right there. You just said something that I think is really key. Your presumption is that you're going out with a gentleman. How did you determine that? Because that's what you have to do in the beginning. You have to determine who you're working with. That's what Jay was telling us earlier. You got to see who you're working with. Those weren't her words, I'm paraphrasing. You got to determine the mindset of the person that you're working with. And if you detect that he's not a gentleman, she's not a lady, then you already have information about how this might go. But if you don't do that in the beginning, you're liable to get anything. So it's a sourcing issue. It's the recruiter had him using the word. But it's an issue of who are you allowing to be somebody that you would go out on a date with.
Right.
Because if he hasn't presented to you that he's a gentleman that's comfortable with you being a business mogul, if that's what you are, and he is going to take care of everything, if he hasn't presented that, then don't expect it.
But most men, if I can say this, and I'm just using the word most. I guess for me, flowers or something like that would precede the date.
You'd be surprised what men do these days and are allowed to get away with. But again, if you don't have an expectation, there are men that wouldn't even offer, even though you're going to drive, Carmen, I'm going to offer to pick you up. And you say, no, my rule is on the first date, I'm a drive. Cool, I'll meet you there. And you're going to get there and I'm going to see to it that you parked wherever you need to park or however, right? That you valet, whatever. There are things I'm going to say to you that are going to let you know whether or not I'm a gentleman.
Yes.
Before you even get to the table. And if you ignore those things, shame on you in some degree, right? Because you should be listening to, this person is about to teach me how he's going to treat me. And it's my role to teach him how to treat me.
Yep. Excellent. Yep. That's why when that young man said, am I going to have to open up the doors for you all the time? That was the first and the last date ever.
Let me go to the comments. I think Kamal was getting ready to chime in. Let me go to the comments real quick. Crystal Yvonne says, I love what I'm hearing, especially the idea of having defined goals and being clear with myself about my own expectations. Darren Williams, I see you tagged me and pulled me in on. Yes, he did. Good job. Serena Horton has joined us. Ingrid Poole says she could be self-sabotage. That's a great point. Denise Mann says, exactly. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to jog. I already know the mindset of the man before the first date. Good point. We live in a time where some men are not reared up that way. That is so true. But you know that when you're talking to them, you know, if there's a man who is, you know, if there's a man who, you know, is going to take the, you know, he might take the Uber or a taxi, or he might not have a car. You might have some discussion about who's paying for the bill, right? A man that's been tentative in your first meeting, you text him, he was slow responding, or you say, oh, you know, where are we going to go? And he says, well, where do you want to go? There are little things that people are always telling us, informing us about them as to what, because you're going to make a determination, right? Is this a gentleman? Is this a lady?
Can I interject? Man, please stop doing that. If you're setting up a date, set up the date. Don't go back and forth. What do you want to eat? What do you want to do? By that time,
now, Carmen, this is a whole nother show. The reason why I say that is because you can ask a woman, you can say, babe, where do you want to go? We're going to go see this movie.
Here you go.
That's the worst movie ever. What? And complain the whole time. But
or
set the date up.
I don't feel like chicken today. Okay, I'm going to take you here. I don't feel like that today. So
three weeks ago, I had a taste for. And now we talking about today.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. Whole nother show.
I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, I gotta answer this. We do that because we don't want to be wrong. We want to try at least make you happy. What do you like? So when we go to try and make these plans that you want us to make, we are doing something that you would want to do. If it's up to us, we're gonna go see a karate movie, and then we're gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Y'all not gonna want to do that. We're gonna want to go see Shoot 'em Up Bang Bang, and that's not necessarily what a woman wants to do. So
but if you were listening to her as you were collecting data from her, you would know what she liked, because hopefully you're asking the right questions, and you would know what she liked to eat because you're asking the right questions. So you picking, I'm going to watch karate, and she told you, oh, I love stories. Then
I did that. I did that. And that's how I took to that girl to the movies with the subtitles, because it was a karate movie that was a love story, and she didn't want to read.
This a whole nother show, y'all. This a whole nother show.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle, because in my 20s, I would have wanted to do the thing that I thought would get you to where I wanted to go. In my 40s, I want to do the thing that is going to show me the most about you.
Yes.
So the first date is really about you and me seeing you as bare, not I don't mean physically bare, but as bare as I can see you in your authentic.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't come out. Not in my
I'm just
50s.
teasing.
I meant it in my 20s, but not in my 50s.
I love Flashdance.
And your authentic self. That's what I want to see. So if your authentic self is the opera, I happen to like it. But if I didn't, I'd be wanting to go there to see how you behave, how you are when you're most your authentic self. That's what I want to know today. So my date is strategic. My courting is strategic to find out more about you. So I am the person that's gonna say, what are you doing? What do you want to do? Where do you love going? What do you like to do? That's more important to me than in my 20s. I would be asking that, but hopefully manipulating you to a place where you would be more comfortable.
Wow.
Jones Love says, do you think when a man asks a woman, can I take you out, that means he's paying? No, Jones Love, I think you probably missed that part. Some people do, some people don't, but it's no longer just a general presumption, right? Because some men just believe that there's going to be, you're going to go Dutch. Yes, some women are a mess. Yes, Ingrid, you are right. Some women are, some men are, hence love and stuff, right? Okay, just checking the comments. It is 10:40. What a lengthy and good show. But I think some good stuff for the inbox. Nicole Baldwin is joining us. Thank you, Nicole Baldwin. I was hoping you was coming earlier. Great show and great information. Oh, I see. You're at work. Are you still in Texas? Nicole Baldwin is one of our Love and Stuff community members, and she's been working in Texas. So I hope that you're safe there. I know Kamal is there as well. I don't know how far you are from Nicole, but she's there doing some nursing on an assignment in your state. So, all right. So thank you all so much. I think we've provided some great perspectives. I think she got a lot of different angles, which she can take a look at, of sourcing differently, or asking the questions, or reconciling that there's some reason why you don't want to ask the question up front. Now that you have had enough experience that you might need to ask the question, as Carmen said, or, you know, be willing to deal with the consequences, as you have 25% of the time paying for the entire bill. And that doesn't sound like what you would necessarily want, but you might broaden your scope and perspective. As anybody here, look beyond the opportunity for the first date, unless the first date is the only goal. And I'm not espousing that it's not a good goal. If you're just getting back into dating, or you want to date more, the first date could be important to you. And you don't want to ignore the signs, even with the first date, without regard to where you meet somebody. You should always be looking for those signs. But I invite you, kind of challenge you to think about beyond that first date. If you want more than just that companionship, if you want to develop relationship, look beyond that first date. But if not, at the very least, have a conversation with this gentleman or this lady about who's paying. Is it due or Dutch? And either of those could be just fine if both parties understand that and both parties agree to that. But there are a lot of ladies, especially in the 30s and up, who are looking for the gentleman who will invite them out, wine them and dine them, as it were, and pay for the bill. Thank you so much, Carmen Evans, our senior associate producer, J. Gerald Harvey IV, our associate producer, Kamal Williams. I'm so grateful for all of you. I'm just checking the comments before we go. Oh, replay on her break. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Thank you.
This times go by so fast.
Yeah, I figured that it would be a little longer, but not so long. It's good for our YouTube viewers. Lengthy videos do well on YouTube, but sometimes not as well on Facebook. But I think.
Hey, Marcus, and if she just decides that she never wants to ask that question and she wants to continue paying, then I suggest you go out for coffee or tea where you're not spending a large lump sum of money.
Yeah. And I get the sense that money is not an issue for her with her ball and self, but I think it's the hurt feelings. I think her feelings are hurt when you get to
insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results.
That's right. Set up those expectations up front. Let them know.
Dude, you paying.
Romance without finance is a nuisance.
Yeah. And to that point of insanity, if you're going the same places and doing the same
Do the
things,
same
to
things.
people, and you're getting a result, why would you expect a different one unless you're willing to modify your behavior about where you're meeting people? It could very well be a sourcing issue.
Like I said, she's meeting people at different places and getting the same result.
But it's the same different places, right? It's not the
No.
grocery store.
It might
Marcus,
be.
everybody's not going to the grocery store meeting people.
Well, all I can say is this.
Go to the grocery.
I have not met people who don't eat, and I have not met people who don't buy anything from the store. But I always meet people who say, I never thought about meeting people in the grocery store. I said, have you been in the grocery store and seen people of the opposite sex or same sex, depending on who you are? Have you seen people that were attractive? Everybody always says, check, check. I said, did you go down the same aisle? No. So all I'm saying is, it's an opportunity to meet people in every day. A party, an event, a bar, people
In the
are
produce section.
to present the best of who they think they are. They are
You might
not.
have to change grocery stores.
Maybe you can't change grocery stores. You marry.
No, what I'm
Right.
saying for somebody out there, you know, if that's your way of picking up girls, that girl gonna come back there. You ain't have a second date. You can't go to the grocery store no more. She might bust you upside the head with a wine bottle.
Oh no. See, again, if you're clear about ending meetings and interactions, people aren't unclear. It's when we're unclear, right? It's when you meet somebody and there's no connection and you ghost them. Then you see them in the grocery store and you're talking to somebody else. That's when you get hit upside the head. But when you meet somebody and it's not a connection and you say, hey, it was nice meeting you, no connection, you're clear. That's the thing that we do as brothers. We're not clear. We will string a woman along and not respond to her text and email. And we know we ain't a bit more interested in her, but we won't say to her, hey, it's not a connection.
Yep.
If you're really good about your game, you'll say, hey, you know what? We really ain't connect because of these things, but I might introduce you to a brother who you might connect with. Because guess what? She gonna introduce you to her girl, might be the one for you. But we don't work that. We rather ghost people and be like, oh, I meant to call you. No, I didn't mean to call you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not interested in you. And if I just say that up front, hey, it was great meeting you, but this is not a connection for me.
And it's okay for two good people to not be connected.
Yeah.
That's so true.
Yeah. Or to be connected in some other way than spiritually, emotionally,
exactly,
or intellectually.
Exactly.
You might meet somebody who I keep this example. You go into the store every day and you buying, I'm gonna say a fifth. I don't know what a fifth is. If I was gonna buy liquor, I say, give me the bottle that's $9.99. I don't know the size. But you go to the store every time and you're talking to that clerk and you think, oh, there's no connection, but the clerk kind of crushing on you. The clerk might have a sister or a brother or whomever who you can connect with. You stop it, you blocking your own blessing when you don't just connect with people for the value of the interaction.
Yep.
Because they might be the connector to what you're really looking for.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, you don't get eye contact, you ghost them, and then they feel in some kind of way about it when you could have been direct and saying, hey, there's no connection with us, but if you got a sister, if you got a cousin, and you'd be surprised at the people that will appreciate your honesty and connect you to somebody different. So I'm still stand on my soapbox about the
grocery store.
Yeah, the grocery store, because everyday people go in the grocery store.
It's gonna be stalkers all in the grocery store tomorrow.
However you want to do it.
I'm sorry, they're going tonight at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
they headed there now.
Find a 24-hour one, and you'll catch the afternoon shift workers from the plant.
See, they're going right now.
I'm just telling you what I know.
Let me get off my couch and go too.
Be careful.
I'll tell you.
Get the grocery subscription so they bring to your car.
I'm gonna do some reconnaissance for love and stuff right now.
Go
Be careful.
and please
Get
go
your
live.
subscription so
Please
they
go
can put in
live.
your car. See, so if you get it delivered to your car, she won't hit your side of the head with the bottom.
Of the fifth, that's $9.99.
But seriously, when you go
He's
into
messing with you.
when you go into a club, Ingrid is saying, is anyone praying for connections? I think this, Ingrid, and this is probably another show. If you are praying, if you are in communication with God, if you are walking in love, your path is already being aligned with connections. So yes, you can articulate, Lord, please give me connections. But if you live connected to him and walk in a way that you can be connected to others, he will automatically do that. He is God. He wants you to walk in love so that you have the intersection with the love you want. So you can say, Lord, let me find a connection, or you can live in a way that you live your fullest self so that you can be connected. I'd like to say it that way, because I'd hate to, when you said that, I envisioned Carmen sitting there saying, Lord, give me a connection, give me a connection, give me a connection, Lord, in Jesus' name, right? I know you wouldn't, and that's okay if you did, but I would want you living in your fullest self in love, and living in the center of your passion and love, because that's when you're going to be connected.
Yes.
And that only happens when you're connected to the connector, but that's another show. We're going to have Jay Gerald come and preach y'all that one. That's another show.
And that answer is yes. People are praying for connections. And in all your ways, acknowledge him.
Yep.
And he's in all your ways.
Yep.
The problem is we don't give him all our ways.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my sermon for the night.
He's ready to preach, and I'm not ready to take your offering for him. Chopper has joined us. Cheryl Tate's joined us. I'm just trying to recount who's here. Tabitha, come on, walk in love and find the connection at the interaction of everyday encounters. I'm so glad Tabitha came, because she's one of our featured. We're going to have a online event on the 30th called She's Cooking Something, and Tabitha is one of the featured presenters, so you'll see more about the advertisement later, but I'm glad you came in. I wanted one of y'all to come in and nobody came. I'm like, how am I going to announce that? So thank you, Tabitha, for coming. I'm sorry, Carmen, what were you going to say? She's one of the others. I'm sorry, Carmen. So two of our She's Gonna Cook Something people have come in. I've been looking for y'all all night, but we'll okay, Carmen, go ahead.
Don't beat me up when I say this, but I mean it wholeheartedly.
Sure.
I think a lot of times we over spiritualize everything. And a lot of times if pretty much like Marcus said, if we're walking in love and all that stuff, we're going to connect to the person that we're supposed to be with. I think we spiritualize stuff for stuff that's just common sense in a sense.
Well, I'm not going to beat you up. I think it's a great perspective. I just add to that, there is a layer that we're multifaceted, right?
Yeah.
And that a part of our spirituality is connected to our faith, which requires practice and not just belief. We've got to put some things into action, right?
Correct.
So I'm in favor of being deeply spiritual and spiritualizing, as you say, but a part of a facet of that is now putting it into practice. Correct. So that might land a little better, because there are people that are deep in the Lord and deeply in the Lord, but I don't want a woman out there discount that, but I do want to highlight that and elevate the part of what you're saying that says, but you also have to practice it. There's a practicum to the spirituality. Right?
Correct. Okay. I just don't want a woman or a man to walk away thinking, oh, well, I may have not found, the person, or the person have not found me because I'm not spiritual enough. I just think that sometimes we have to also master the practicality of, meeting someone and, and going out and, all that good stuff.
Yeah. And I think some of that is spiritual too. It's just the walking out part, right?
Yes.
Because
Right.
you're the spiritual man in you has a discernment, it has
Mhm.
an understanding about the connection to that person and what, you know, what you're venturing into. So I think they're more interwoven than maybe you describe them. They're facets of the same thing, if that makes sense.
One of these days, can you do a show that talks about he that finds a wife findeth a good thing and receive favor from the Lord? Like we can really like discuss that and what that really means, because I think people have different perspectives, and sometimes our perspectives can be screwed a little bit with, you know, things that people have told us versus what actually the scripture speaks of.
Okay, I think that's a
Mhm.
great topic. I do have I have a
If you
couple
once
coming.
before.
Have a couple that a recently engaged couple that are coming that I think will talk to this specifically. A beautiful story of their second chance at love. So I think so. Yeah, I
So
think
you want to talk about um, him finding the wife? We right there, yeah.
yeah.
Because
That's it right there.
there's that right there. The way that it's taught currently
Yeah,
is not the way that it is,
correct.
and it's not the way that it's even written.
Correct.
So
And maybe the
He
reason why a lot of people are still single.
he
because they
fine.
still waiting.
Could be.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. We'll do that show
Yeah, could be.
He fine. He buy. He pay for to date.
tonight.
What?
Tonight, that's what we learned.
Yeah. Yeah.
You learned that you're paying. It's on you, buddy.
Okay.
That's right.
Right.
Denise, man, I'm gonna do these few comments, then we're really gonna be gone. It's 10:56. Denise Mann says
Questions?
we have to make ourselves available to be found, not just sitting around waiting to be found. Thank you, Denise. We'll make sure
Yes.
that we get your information so that you can be involved in that show. Uh, Valencia Edner says Taff and Mason. Yes, yes, they're a great example. So there are a number of great couple examples that we'll have to make sure are invited to that show, because I think it'll be helpful to those that have
Looking, searching, all that.
yeah,
Mhm.
all of that. Okay. What a wonderful show. Thank you. I hope you will share this content widely. Join us every Tuesday night at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. Again, we're at 3,700 followers. We're on the road to 20,000, and we can't get there without you going to our page and clicking follow. We want you to click follow and join us on the Love and Stuff page. And again, on October 30th, we're going to have an online event, a special feature called She's Cooking Something. It's featuring Tabitha Goodner, Valencia Edner, Yashika Holston, who you may know from the Master Chef show, and Cheryl Swacker O'Neal. So all of these are folks that are in our Love and Stuff community, and they're going to be talking about some wonderful things around cooking. And some of them are cooking meals, and some of them are cooking relationships, and some of them are about cooking wholeness. And so I think you'll get some ingredients and recipes for some successful love opportunities from these four powerful sisters. And so we'll have more information coming on that, and looking forward to having you join us. Thank you again, Carmen Evans, our senior associate producer, J. Gerald Howard IV, our associate producer, Kamal Williams. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank all of you on Twitch TV, on YouTube, on Love and Stuff, and on the Marcus R. Holmes page.